AITA, I asked my transgender daughter to choose an Indian name. My husband and I come from a traditional Indian family, immigrated to the US for college and stayed here, so please bear in mind that we really don't know much about all the nuances of the LGBTQ+ community, since we were never really exposed to that. I decided to bring my situation here so I can get some third-party advice. My son, now daughter, 15 female, recently came out as a transgender girl. We immediately accepted her, told her we loved her no matter what. I got her talking to a gender specialist/therapist, we entered family therapy, and my husband and I have spent a lot of time reading and educating ourselves on what it means to be trans. Unfortunately, my husband and I also lost a lot of friends and family who decided that my daughter was a freak and that we were abandoning our culture and values. While we realize that we are better off without these ignorant people, it has been tough, despite having my siblings, some close friends and my husband stand by me. So, several months ago, I joined a support group for parents of kids who are trans. It has been really helpful, and I feel like it is a great place for me to voice my concerns and also express my feelings. A week ago, my daughter brought up how she probably wanted to change her name. Right now, we are calling her a gender-neutral nickname of her dead name, think Vikranta Vicky. I completely understand that having remnants of your dead name can be very bad, so we told her that we would support her in her name-changing process. I also mentioned that I had a list of girl names that I never got use. I have 3 biological boys, and I would love if she wanted to use those names and if my husband and I still got to name her. We even offered to do a redo of her traditional Hindu naming ceremony with her new name, which she loved. She said she would think about the names. She mentioned having a white name, like Samantha, and asked me what I thought. I told her that it was her choice, but I would love if she chose an Indian name, so she always has a piece of her heritage with her, and that would make us happy. She said she hadn't thought of that and she'll come up with some names later. I mentioned this in our support group, and one white mom got really angry at me. She started saying that I was a bad mom who was forcing my daughter to pick a name I wanted and forcing her to embrace a culture that rejected her. She brought up my estranged parents, who I had talked about in previous sessions, and how I was trying to force my daughter to be more like them. That was not my intention, but I feel terrible now and can't stop crying. AITA? NTA. You are supporting her. You aren't forcing her to go with an Indian name, you are just saying you would love it if she did, and doing it in a way to make her feel accepted and loved. You're doing great. Exactly. All you did was make a suggestion and left the decision to her. Nothing wrong with that. Definitely NTA. I don't blame original post and her husband for being unsure, though. To a lot of people, LGBTQ people are still a foreign concept, and as with any foreign concept, many people have never experienced it, and many are therefore likely to be frightened by it. Losing friends over something like this already must make original post and her husband nervous enough, but then having someone in what is supposed to be a support group lash out at them like that would have to be scary, I'd imagine. I'm really glad that you've taken the initiative with your daughter, and have respected her wishes. As most people seem to have said, you are NTA. This is a complicated topic in today's culture, and lots of people aren't sure how to handle it, especially across cultural divides. Good on you for handling it as well as you can, and I know you will continue to support your daughter. I wish both you and her well. Plus they had some crazy jerk yell at them over nothing. And a racist jerk. Like a white American parent has never rejected their transgender child? Because my guess is that this white person just assumes that white names are normal and have no culture and therefore no cultural baggage regarding LGBTQ people, whereas Indian culture is ethnic and inherently political and therefore all of Indian culture is tainted with transphobia. Yeah, it's really telling that someone outside of your family and culture said that and not your daughter herself. It sounds like you and your daughter are working together on this, which is amazing and something many trans kids don't get. If your daughter comes back and says, I think Samantha is really sticking for me, that's a different story, but it sounds like you gave her a different perspective on things and she's happy to take that into account. Basically, you sound like a great parent, your kid is lucky to have you, and don't let someone who has no knowledge of your family or culture tell you you're a butthole for wanting your kid to have a connection to her heritage. Op is a wonderful person and deserves way more than being screamed at by some idiotic buffoon. I myself am trans male to female, and I have no support. When I told my mom, She looked at me like I had just committed murder and went outside to smoke because she was too stressed. The rest of my family were super accepting, but only called me by my new name for a month before resorting back to my dead name. I wish I had family like Op, and she was super respectful with the name thing. That lady that decided to scream at original post deserves to step on a Lego. Hang in there, you beautiful amethyst being. Know that there are parents of trans kids out here who support you in whatever you decide to do in your life. Purple heart, purple heart. Internet parents are possibly the most beautiful thing to come out of the internet. Giving kids whose own parents aren't satisfactory the love that they need is one of the most beautiful things I've seen. You're doing amazing stuff. Thank you. My son is female to male trans, and I can't imagine not being supportive towards him. So, I offer you a free virtual mom hug, and a friend if you need one. I wish you the best. LGBTQ people are still a foreign concept. I honestly think you need to break that up. I totally get LGB. Getting there on T, clueless on Q. So, you could say you are Q-less. Sorry, I had to. As a self-defined Q, I say boo. And also laughing out loud haha. Haha. Q stands for queer, which tends to be a blanket term for non-straight people. Queer and questioning. Basically anyone who knows they aren't straight/cis but still don't have their identity 100% figured out or just prefers vague umbrella term. You know what's crazy? When I was in school, queer was a derogatory term. I still have trouble with saying that one out loud, it just feels wrong I guess? Being told off about saying it for years does that to a person lol. It still is for a lot of people. I know quite a few people who obviously have no issue with others identifying as queer, but really hate being labeled as queer themselves. Not everybody chooses to reclaim the word. Then I will keep refraining the use of the word, I really try not to use it. Thank you for telling me that. I find that for the most part you're safe using it as an adjective rather than a noun. You can say James is queer without raising too many eyebrows, but James is a queer is getting into slur territory. Of course, context is still king. Rather than non-straight the correct term would be non-cishet, cisgender and heterosexual. Because trans people can be straight and are queer. The point being some people are at different levels of understanding the nuances and complexities of the situation. Give people the credit for trying to do the right thing, even if they don't fully understand it. Important to note that queer has been used as a slur in the past. While many people, including myself, claim it as a part of their identity, it is still considered rude to call someone queer if they haven't made it clear that's what they prefer. Yes, I should have mentioned it. I also identify as queer and totally glossed over that. But calling someone queer isn't a great idea unless they've specifically stated they prefer it. Q essentially covers LGBT and anything else in that realm, and any combination thereof. It's an umbrella term really. If anyone disagrees, I welcome the discourse. Probably don't go around calling people queer unless you know it's okay though, especially if you're straight. It has history as an insult, so it'll definitely rub some the wrong way. Plus you also suggested the naming ceremony, which if your daughter hasn't abandoned the culture would have been a big deal for her, in showing her that you are willing to go to great lengths to support her, even if your own parents, her grandparents, aren't willing to support your decision. Definitely NTA. The fact that original post and her husband immediately said, "Okay, this is our daughter, so what would we do for our daughter?" is so sweet and meaningful. Of course they'd like to do a naming ceremony and all, they would have done it earlier if they'd known they had a daughter. Nah, except some random parent online making a bunch of jumps to make original post feel bad. It reminds me of what I did about my little brother, FTM trans. I just act like it's always been this way, and in any unsure situation, I say to myself, okay, this is my little brother, what would I do for my little brother, and that's what I do. Our parents weren't quite so supportive though, and I can't leave either of them alone with him, because they'll say something, and he'll try to defend himself. They'll get upset because he's younger than them and they're of the generation that feels they have the right to do whatever they want to children, and the kids just have to take it because of the age difference and power differential, and they'll physically lash out for the perceived disrespect, and if we're lucky I'll hear it before that point and go put a stop to it by pointing out how ridiculous everyone is being, but most of the time it just leads to a preventable ER visit. Yes, I love the idea of a naming ceremony. It's sweet. I think just as long as the names stay a suggestion from original post is fine in NTA, plus daughter has more names to choose from. If they start forcing a certain name onto their daughter and start making demands, then original post is crossing the line and into odd territory. NTA. That mom was the butthole. I think you went about making your request/suggestion very respectfully. You didn't tell her she had to do it, you asked. Absolutely not the butthole for making the request, and your daughter is also not the butthole if she chooses to go with a more white name. I feel like that white mom is just oblivious to the power, emotion, and meaning that cultural/ethnic names can carry. Even if your daughter doesn't love the culture or community due to negative experiences, she should feel proud to be Indian and brown. She should feel proud of her heritage. You sound like a good mom. You emphasize that her name was her choice. You literally did nothing wrong. I also think it's really beautiful and kind that original post offered to go over the list of girl names that she had already picked out. This mom is putting so much into her daughter and going above and beyond to support her and help her stay connected to her culture. She's showing her she can be who she is without having to abandon her culture. Edit to add not the butthole original post. The naming ceremony also sounds so sweet. 11 tense parenting. Oh yes, that's the best part. A+, parenting, and original post is definitely NTA. My goodness, yes. Imagine the trans daughter hearing her mom offering a name she always wanted to use for a cis daughter. The strong message is, you are my real and beloved daughter, you are one of us and this is not changed, we just didn't know when you were born. Daughter may well not like the actual names chosen and she is free to choose another, but with this meaningful gesture mom is emphasizing connection, not othering. I can't imagine a trans teen can hear that too often. I got emotional reading that part. How incredibly validated and loved her daughter must have felt. Also, for this mean woman to claim her culture rejected her when Ops Post said while they've lost some friends, others have been supportive. Original Post and her husband are from that culture and accepted an offer to do a ceremony from said culture for the new name. Some people from that culture rejected her. Just like what happens in other cultures. If a white trans kid was rejected by some of their friends, should they not use a white name for their new one? Mean lady just wanted to be crotchety. Exactly my thoughts too. I'm cis, but between that and the naming ceremony offer I'm getting real teary. It's so clear how much original post loves her daughter as she is. Her and her husband sound like dream parents. NTA. Does that white mom seriously think there are white kids who haven't been rejected? Mom is Indian, didn't reject her child, and is supporting her wholeheartedly, therefore the culture has not rejected her. Some narrow-minded asshats have. Saying her entire culture rejected her is ridiculous. There's a little more to Indian culture than this girl's grandparents. Plus, it's like this woman wants the kid to reject her culture completely. So that Indian culture would have one less trans person in it? Like, why? NTA. You asked your daughter to consider it and ultimately left the decision in her hands. Do you know how many people would give anything to have their parents be as supportive and interested as you and your husband are being? Coming from another white woman, the lady at your group is virtue signaling and trying to show how woke she is. A white woman trying to show how woke she is by acting like the daughter's own culture is a tool of some horrific abuse. And acting that her white culture, whatever it is the norm and everything else is lesser. Call her out, op. It's also funny acting as if white American culture is accepting of trans people. This thread gives me so much hope. Sorry, I don't have my own culture to defend. Therefore, I must defend yours even though you didn't ask me to. I am also a white woman and I hate the audacity of some of these ladies. The majority who virtue signal don't even care. They just want brownie points. Like you said, look how woke I am, shaking my head. I was thinking the same thing. Honestly, her reaction actually perpetuates racism also by saying choosing an Indian name is trying to make her like Ops parents. I'm sorry for anyone who isn't aware about this, but Ops parents aren't the only Indian people on this planet. Exactly this, And come on, what culture is better with trans people? I assume this is North America. I wouldn't go so far as to say that the society is trans-friendly. Surely the Indian family and tradition emphasis can seem like a big prison of heteronormativity. But being individualistic does not mean the society supports all choices. At very best, these Western countries, like my own too, have many educated and tolerant people, but it's not thanks to cultural history. What the woke woman said was very racist and hurtful. NTA. I wonder if that mom got her ally points. White savior complex. They think queer people have to run to white cultures to escape their backwards and regressive native cultures. As if white Christians don't routinely reject their queer children. Ding ding ding. This happens a lot. My mother thinks she's super supportive to trans folks. I'm trans, but she's actually pretty transphobic and will not hear it. She will harvest that for as many brownie points as possible, including trying to have me on a float with her at our local pride parade after I came out. I made up an excuse, and ended up going with my dad the following year when he politely asked if he could accompany me on his first time going to the parade, which he specifically wanted to attend to support me. People like this pick fights that we do not want fought, and ultimately do harm all around. Things we don't think are transphobic, or crap we don't care about / don't want attention brought to, they want to fight about. This is largely because they know they'll get all of the attention and glory for calling out the thing, since no one else is. They fail to realize why they're alone on that battlefield, and assume it's because they were the only ones brave enough to go there. Thank you for watching. If you like our videos, please like them on YouTube. And share them with your friends. Please subscribe to be the first to know about Red Rabbit Reader's new videos. We welcome your comments below. Another of our videos will begin shortly.